across Kentucky alone.
Wow.
You'll remember the image of that flattened candle factory, crews with heavy equipment sifting through the wreckage, dismantling what remains there.
Oh
Crews
my
also at the
God.
First Christian Church tonight, removing the rubble of those walls that stood for 100 years, that organ, before the tornado tore them down. In neighborhood after neighborhood across the storm zone, families are returning now to shattered homes, picking up the pieces, neighbors and strangers alike lending a hand. Tonight here, the faces of some of the loved ones who've been lost, including a Kentucky judge, a 94-year-old Korean War veteran at an Arkansas nursing home, and a 2-month-old baby.
Oh.
We have witnessed so much heartbreak over the last couple of days here, but
my
also
God.
resilience, including one man's remarkable survival after being trapped for hours under the rubble at that candle factory. In fact, for the first time right here tonight, he's describing what it was like to be trapped 15 to 20 feet below, covered with twisted steel and glass, and what
Oh
the
my
rescuers
God,
did
that gave me
to get him out.
goosebumps.
He wanted the chance right here tonight to say thank you.
Oh.
Tonight, the devastating images from above, revealing the scope of the devastation, even more widespread than feared here.
Oh my
This is now the
God.
deadliest tornado outbreak in the U.S. in more than a decade. More than 40 reported tornadoes across 9 states, and the death toll is rising. Tonight, at least 88 people killed across several states, at least 74 dead here in Kentucky. And
Oh
tonight,
my
the harrowing
God.
sight, what these tornadoes have done in town after town, where authorities are just now assessing the damage. 70 miles northeast of Mayfield, in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, total destruction in this part of town. Homes destroyed. In Marshall County, Kentucky, along Kentucky Lake, home after home reduced to piles of wood.
Oh
Trees
my
sheared
God.
off, cars thrown everywhere. The entire neighborhood gone. These men standing on a home, the top sliced off.
Oh my
Tonight,
God.
Kentucky's governor describing it this way.
The worst tornado event in the history of our Commonwealth. Our state was hit by at least 4 tornadoes. Thousands of homes are damaged, if not entirely destroyed. And it may be weeks before we have final counts on both deaths and levels of destruction.
The governor choking up when discussing the ages of the victims.
Oh.
I know, like the folks in Western Kentucky, I'm not doing so well today, and I'm not sure how many of us are.
Oh.
Everywhere we traveled, homes gone, cars crushed. You can see this trailer just completely flipped over, and all you hear are saws going
Oh
on
my
in the
God,
distance, and then
people.
a few beeps here and there, alarms, detectors going off in the debris. And tonight, after seeing those devastating aerials of the candle factory,
No.
we now hear what it was like to be trapped at the very bottom. More than 100 workers on the late shift filling those Christmas orders, at least 8 people confirmed dead. And we learned of a worker trapped at the bottom under 15 to 20 feet of twisted steel. He could hear the cries and the screams. He
Oh,
tried to stay
shit.
calm, barely able to breathe, with the steel on his chest.
Oh my God.
Jim?
No.
How you doing, Jim? Jim Douglas, a father of 2, trapped for 4 hours. Jim, you were inside the factory.
Yes.
And if I can ask you, what do you remember?
I remember everything. I could hear like some loud thumps that I thought was big hail or something. And then it's like the roof lifted up,
Oh my
and I was
God.
right next to a wall, and it's like the roof slammed down, and then the wall came down on top of me, hit me in the head, and knocked me on the ground, and people just screaming out for help and
Wow.
terrorized.
It was then Jim realized he was at the bottom.
I was at the bottom of the pile and all the rubble. I'm guessing it was
Look
like
at no.
15, maybe 20 feet deep of rubble. So it was cutting off my breathing. I was able to get my arm right like this is the only thing I can move. Everything else was pinned, so I could kind of push myself up and get a breath.
You were at the bottom of the rubble, you
I was
said.
at the very bottom, and my face was sideways.
His coworkers began to call out.
People were asking, "Where are you? Where are you?" And I just call out, "Over here."
A colleague named Shannon, not far from him, talking to him to keep him calm.
She talked to me for probably, I don't know, maybe the better part of an hour. And then they got her free.
Rescuers began to cut away at the steel.
Shoot,
They were
no.
trying to save Jim's limbs.
They carefully went about cutting the pieces away from you, so they were saving your limbs.
I believe it was steel studs and door frames and maybe even some iron beams from the roof.
The rescuers then noticed a door frame filled with glass. They would have to pull Jim through it. They told him to close his eyes.
He said, "Close your eyes as tight as you can get them, and we're gonna bust this glass, and we're gonna pull you through the door frame." So I closed my eyes, and they busted it, and then they pulled me straight up, and I've seen all them faces.
When they lifted you up through that glass and you had your eyes closed, and there was a human chain of rescuers helping to take you down that pile?
Both sides they had me on a backboard, and there were people on both sides, and I'm just seeing these faces and thank you. I mean,
We could see the emotion in his face. And we learned one more thing while standing in his hospital room. They showed me a photo.
This is incredible.
Right before we arrived, Jim, with help from the team, standing for the first time. And it turned out Jim had not seen the photo himself.
Not bad, huh?
yeah.
It was a remarkable moment in that hospital room, a remarkable story of survival, and we were so moved by Jim and the doctors and nurses at Baptist Health Paducah, the physical therapists there. They have promised to send us images of his first steps. And we take note tonight that about 40 minutes from here in Mayfield, the small town of